Well, I think it's an obligation we have, like, in this space, especially creative space. There's kind of a path already carved out for, like, the traditional way people go about, like, school, college, 9-to-5 job. But I think it's a unique person that wants to step out of that and pursue a passion, or specifically a creative passion. And I know how hard that is. So for me, I feel like, again, it's like an obligation for me to help that person, because, like, it's already going to be hard. So anything that I can offer to help even just reinforce that you made the right decision to keep going, like, I very much want to do that.
So Dom, thanks for joining the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Second episode back. So we started working together. I had to think about this today, how long it's been. I think it's coming up on 4 years next year.
Really?
Yeah. I was actually working on building an online course that we mentioned before, and I was freelancing on and off. It was one of the first semesters I had just left college, and the whole economy just seemed really uncertain. And
I think I put out an ad on Indeed for editors.
Yeah. So I was applying to as many different freelance editing roles as I could, and stumbled across yours. And I think it was Heather that I was emailing, obviously, who I didn't know at the time. But you had us do this puzzle or something that it was like a personality trait.
Oh, that wasn't me. That was Indeed.
Yeah, it must have been Indeed.
But I like checked it off, like, hey.
Yeah, it was required for this particular application, and that's what made it stand out. And the funny thing is, I remember distinctly in that moment thinking, I'm not going to do it. And then there was just something in me that said, you know what? Like, why not? The funny thing is, like, if I had never done that, then we wouldn't be sitting here. Which I have so many moments like that. I don't know if you're the same, where you look back and you're at a fork in the road.
Right.
And it may seem like a trivial, small choice in the moment, but you realize looking back that, man, if I hadn't made that little decision, then my trajectory in my career would be totally different. Like, can you think
it was a huge decision. It was huge moments. Like, those small decisions are huge moments.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I remember I was high school, and my teacher, you could do a book report, or you could do you could make like a mobile or something, like, on these stories. And I think we were reading the Odyssey at the time, and I was not a good student at all. Like, I hated school. And on that thing, one of them was like, it was just a multimedia project. And, like, I had just got a camera. I was messing around with my friends. I was like, you know what? I was like, I'll just film this report. Like, I don't want to write anything. I'm just going to copy off of somebody anyway. So I did that. And, like, the first time ever in any assignment, I think I was in, like, what grade was I? I was like a freshman or something. And I read the book, like, looked up all the information, like, I knew it front and back. I, like, produced this whole long, like, kid version of this story, and I got like 105 on the project, and, like, the teacher, like, showed it to everybody, and that really sparked my interest in, like, pursuing film. And I was like, if I never made that decision, if I could just done what I do on every other project, it's like half-ass a book report, get like a 75 on it, and just move on. Mm-hmm. But I remember that, and they still show it in that school today. Like,
really?
They show class. They loved it. And then, so every class, then I would just like, I'm like, all right, this is the highest grade I've ever gotten on anything. So then I would go to every class. Like, my science class, we had to do something for the periodic table. So I asked to film a video instead. It wasn't even an option. I just asked. Mm-hmm. And they saw the other one, like, murmurs of it going around, like, in my reading class or whatever, and they let me do it. So, like, all my other teachers then started just let me make videos on whatever the big book report was that semester or whatever it was.
Well, I guess that goes to show that if you enjoy what you're doing and you're passionate about it, then the results are going to be better.
I spent the most time on that project, and like, I've retained the information.
Yeah.
If I did a book report, I wouldn't have remembered anything. I wouldn't have studied it. I wouldn't have even looked at the book. I would have just figured, like, is this something I have to do? My mom's making me do homework. How do I finish this so I can, like, go outside or play video games or whatever?
Yeah.
But, like, I actually invested in it because I cared about the video.
I think that also demonstrates that everyone has different ways of retaining information.
Right.
Like, if people are I'm sure a lot of people are great at writing and book reports and essays and taking tests, and they retain information in that way.
Yeah.
But other people who are more creative, that might get better results for them.
Yeah, school, it kind of like gives you one way, and it's like if you don't fit in that one way, it's like you can think you're a bad student. I mean, I got like D's, C's, and B's.
Right.
But then like I found what I wanted to do, and I care a lot more about that result when I went to college for it. It's like my grades were better because I was working in subjects that I was interested in. So.
Right. Especially in a context of like high school, you have to be able to see the real life application of what you're doing. Like if you're in math and you're learning about the Pythagorean theorem or like graphing equations or whatever, and you don't see how you can apply that to your everyday life, it's very difficult for you to be motivated to learn. Obviously,
I don't even think it's that deep. I just think I hated the structure of school.
Right. Or I mean, obviously, you need the grade at the end of the day. Which is motivation in and of
that's
itself.
why I feel like I was like a BC student, because I just would do what did I need to do to like move to the next thing, not get in trouble, and just like pass, basically.
Right. You went to Temple. That's what I wanted to ask you about next is, it was probably much easier to get behind the projects you were doing and stay motivated in something like that. Could you talk about what sort of projects you worked on and describe your time at Temple? And sort of as a two-faceted question, like we went there probably like a decade apart almost. So I think, could you talk about it in the context of like when you were there, it was probably, you said like around 2010, maybe just placing it in that time period and just where you were, in your young career, like just talk about your whole film school experience and your time at Temple.
I mean, that was a while ago. Bill Cosby still had an honorary degree from Temple.
Oh no.
So that's how that was a while ago. But when I went, I remember it was the sixth ranked, the sixth film school in the nation is what they told us. And
really, I didn't know
it was
that.
the sixth film school in the nation. It was the second most diverse school in the nation. I remember that was like the thing that they said to us. I loved going there, but like I learned a little bit in the classes. I was new to film going into college. Like a couple people, they'd already done it in high school. Like my high school wasn't that advanced. Like I just picked up a camera myself. So I learned a little bit in the classes, but I really learned like outside, like dorming. We had like a film floor dorm. So like those guys I still shoot with today. The projects they gave us, and then when I went off to like film those projects, that's where like I really learned. Like I don't think I learned way more there than inside the classroom. But there were still projects I didn't like, even within film. Like there was a lighting course, and I like really wanted to like direct and edit, and I really gravitated towards editing. And I remember we'd go to this lighting course, and like I just wasn't interested in lighting. So we partnered up on a group project. We had to film something on a film camera, light it, and then hand it in. And none of the guys there knew how to like edit on film or scan the film, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, look, you guys can shoot the whole project and light it. I'll just edit it, and then just that'll be the thing. So that's what happened. I didn't go to that class. I just edited it, and we got like a huge like an A on the class. It was great.
So it was using everyone's strengths.
It's exactly what it was. Yes. Yeah. Right. But it was still kind of similar to like I wasn't gravitated towards that. So again, what do I have to do to like get a good grade on this? I just inserted where I could add value, and then just they liked it, but I that wasn't for me. I remember they also said they had the second biggest police department in Pennsylvania. It was like Philadelphia Police Department and like Temple Police Department, or again, that's what they told us. Mm-hmm. So it was a little rough of an area, but like I think if you stayed on campus for us, you were pretty okay. I met a lot of amazing people there. It's where I met my business partner Aboon when we started LBF there. Mm-hmm. It gave me the freedom to like experiment with all those things that I was passionate about, and you get to pick your courses so you can kind of guide yourself in that direction to like facilitate that kind of stuff. So, I mean, again, I just did the bare minimum I needed to do. I remember my senior year, I skipped the first week of classes, all the introductory classes, the things you're not supposed to do, because I got hired on like a big film set, like separately over the summer that like kind of went to the first week of my senior year.
Right.
So I wrote to my professors and I was like, look, like I'm in film classes, like what's better than me being like, can I miss this first week? And they were like, sure. And I brought one of my buddies with me, like add to the crew or whatever. So I remember my senior year, I felt like I was just like a dog on a leash. I was like, let me graduate so I can like apply all this stuff that I've been like dying to do. And
I felt the same way. This was actually my freshman year when I was at
your freshman year.
Yeah, when I was I mean, yeah, I don't want to sound like I'm too cool for school or whatever, but I just had all these opportunities to, you know, go to Vegas and like work on this video team, get real world experience, or be in this film class, which obviously is important because, you know, I'm investing in my education. It's important to be there, but also I felt that it was interesting to put into words when I would write to my professors and say, look, I really want to take advantage of the chance to do this because I think it'll be beneficial to, you know, to my learning.
This is your freshman year.
Yeah. I mean, like just as much as this course. And I remember it was like, if you miss more than 3 classes unexcused, they'll dock your letter grade by, you know, a full letter. Right. And at that point, like I knew that I wasn't going to graduate anyway. So I just said, you know, respectfully, I'm going to go. Like, I don't care. I mean, I politely asked, could you just give me a third absence? No, he didn't dock the letter grade, but I wouldn't have cared if he did. Right. Because I just thought that the onset experience is just so valuable.
Right. College is weird because I think they try to fit you into like where they see like the trajectory of it going, but you got to do what you want to do.
And I don't blame the professors at all. They're just doing their job. Right. Like they're enforcing their curriculum. And, you know, if they were to dock my letter grade, I would have accepted that. Right. Obviously, if my long-term goal was to graduate in 4 years and my GPA was important, then
you'd have to make a decision.
I would have had to make a decision. But the year after that was the pandemic. And I honestly believe that if the pandemic had not happened, that I would have stayed all 4 years and graduated. So there were a lot of variables in my decision. And I tell this to people all the time, but I was at Temple for a night class and I was sitting in there and he was using an article from nofilmschool.com.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm sitting in film school. I just thought it was kind of ridiculous that, you know, you're paying all this money for tuition for information that's readily available.
Right.
I know it's like,
well, it changed so much too when you got there. Like,
yeah. I do think there is a lot of value from the experience of going. Just, well, for me, it was, I thought, especially like when I went to my freshman year, which is in Mechanicsburg, I actually moved away from home for the first time and went on campus. That was very important for like my development.
I think college is so important for the stuff around the classes.
Yes.
Like it's not even the classes.
Yeah. The friendships, you know, I went to 3 weddings this year of people that I met in college. Right. They're like my dear friends. Right. I wouldn't give that up for like, that was extremely valuable and I cherish that very much. And also the people that I work with that hire me for things are people that I met in college. So it's like, even though I went there for 2 years, it's like, I think the networking and the friendships are the things that will last more than the classroom stuff. But
even you said like that stuff gets outdated so quick. College is like, I don't know how they keep increasing their tuition costs when the cost of information is becoming so much cheaper. And even now, like I spend so much money every year on like coaching programs and other things to get better at just to keep learning and like just being an entrepreneur or in the video space, like sales, all that kind of stuff. So it's like, I'm looking at that and I was like, I spent basically a full tuition like this year on the last 2 years, but I'm getting way more of an impact. And it's also personalized than I would pay for college. It's like I'm one-on-one with somebody like teaching me things that I don't know. I felt like I was taking like a sales course or I didn't go to school for business, even though I've been an entrepreneur and been doing business since I was in high school. I was like selling DVDs, but learning that stuff, it's like if you go to college, I'd be paying 10 times more than I am and getting 10 times less of the information, you know? So
I guess there's a misconception that if you aren't doing a traditional form of education, then you're not learning or you're not educating yourself.
I think that's so outdated. I remember sitting it was my senior year, I just graduated, And it was a couple months, it was like 6 months after that. I'm sitting in my parents' house and I'm editing a project. Like I'm just in it. I'm probably up for like a day and a half. And my mom like peeks in my room all excited, like, Dom, your diploma came from Temple. And she's like waving it. And I can hear her waving it, but like had headphones on. And like I kind of heard her.
Like, who cares?
Like I didn't turn around. I was like, oh, cool, Mom. And like I just kept editing. And I was like, I still have never seen that paper. I don't, my mom has it somewhere. Like she wanted it kind of thing. Like not that she wanted it. I went to school because I wanted to go to film school. But it's like she was more excited about than me because I'm like, nobody that was hiring me for jobs right out of college was asking me for a diploma.
No one's asked me for a diploma. Obviously, you've been doing it much longer than me, but I've been full-time for 4 years. I've never been asked once for it.
Right. It's like,
and I don't have one.
But I realized that early on. It's like, people want to see what you can do. It's like, I don't have things that I can show you. The diploma is going to get me a video job. I need to make more videos to get me a video job.
Right. So it's all about, like we were talking about before, setting this up, having a proof of concept, saying, this is what I can do. Obviously, there's things that you prove during the process of working with people about how you communicate and just being a good person to work with. Like obviously you can do great work, but if you miss deadlines or you're disrespectful, those things are important too. To wrap up the whole college topic, like the one thing that it just really pisses me off is I just think the peer pressure around it in general.
I think that, do you think that's going away now with like your generation?
I'm just going off of like when I was in high school, like I'd be talking to people and I had friends where they were applying to like 10 schools and they were like, how many have you applied to? Like it was some sort of competition. And I was like, well, I'm considering a gap year. Yeah, I might apply to 1 or 2. And I remember he's like, come on, like do something with your life. Like that's not, don't quote me on that. But
right.
It was something that gave me that impression. And then also, this is not the fault of guidance counselors. This is what they're paid to do. But I would sit down in meetings with them. And I remember mine in particular would say, I would list off 3 maybe smaller private schools that weren't like top tier. And I remember she wouldn't even write down the small ones on a list. The higher end schools she would write down, and the smaller ones she wouldn't. And really, it's all about, obviously, if she can get people to graduate from the high school and say that they went on to these prestigious universities, it makes them look good.
Right.
So it's their job, but it also pisses me off because it sort of corners you as a student to say, like, I'm going to be a failure if I don't, if I go to a school that was crossed off the list or wasn't even written down, like it's not a worthy school and I can't get a good education there.
Right.
Or just outside of the context of film, if you want to go to trade school, if you want to not take on as much debt, or maybe you can't afford to go to school.
Right.
Like I think it's case by case, everybody's different, and there shouldn't be so much judgment around the way that people decide to educate themselves. I don't know if that's valid or not. But.
No, I think it is. I mean, also learning styles are different. Like again, I learned by doing. So like making more videos made me better at video. No college, the best college in the world, like, it's not going to change that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, tell me about LBF. I personally have never asked you about this. Obviously, you've had me edit some things for LBF over the past couple of years, but so you started it with a Boone.
Yeah. Boone, I remember he started bringing, we had this little soccer group at Temple. And again, we were pretty diverse. So like it was a bunch of different cultures like playing, and it was a really cool, tight knit group of kids. And Boone brought out these like 15 shirts that said "Live, Breathe Football" on them, and they just sold out immediately. And we were all so like fanatic about it.
How many years you been in business total?
Oh my God, it's 2010 we did. Yeah.
So 14 years?
Wow. Yeah.
That's impressive. I mean, just to have businesses be sustained. I don't know, like, my parents are entrepreneurs. They celebrated 30 years this year of their business. And my dad always tells me, he's like, most businesses don't last past a year or 5 years, or there's some stat that he always quotes.
Well, I think it's if you go 3 years without making any money, then it's considered like a hobby and you can't like write off things or whatever anymore. Right. I don't know what the actual thing is.
Yeah. But I mean, regardless, it's impressive to sustain a business, any business for that long.
It's tough, man. Like I said, like we didn't go to business school. I didn't go to business school. Like Boone went to architecture school. I went to film school. We both went to Temple. but I didn't go to business school. So like we're just kind of figuring it out as we went.
You made some like memorable mistakes that you learned from business wise, or?
Oh yeah. Even like some of the business I do with other people today, I learned from even just doing my own stuff, but the production company and LBF, it's like now I come to these businesses as a business owner and understand like, if you're spending your money here, if you're doing these videos, like they better be getting results. And that kind of switched my mindset a little bit to understand like how difficult it is being a business owner, being an entrepreneur. Yeah, it's not easy. So I've even with BTS Studios and the new video company we're doing, I've really focused on like, okay, how can these be a tool to help other entrepreneurs and help other businesses like actually drive sales, convert leads, like whatever they're doing, and how can we creatively make that happen, or how can we use creativity in these videos to actually drive revenue? I think that's a big thing, because I remember a lot of time, like even in my 20s or in college, is I would just create fun stuff that I wanted to create, and it was cool for a little bit, but then it's like if it doesn't get results or it doesn't do anything for any like drive value or drive engagement, or it doesn't even have to be monetary, just like invoke something, like actually engage them, then like you're kind of, what are you doing it for? And like, how are you going to grow as a creator, or as a business owner? See, I don't know. I think I'm in a unique position to see a lot of other creators doing incredible things. And I see a lot of businesses that need good creative people. And I've really kind of set a mission to help both of those ends of the spectrum. It's like, okay, we can really use creativity to boost this business and everybody's happy because the business is making money, the creatives get to be creative. It's almost the worst when businesses like try to clamp down like on creatives, and it's like, you have to do this, you have to do that. I think there's a language that both can speak, and you can really do super creative stuff and help businesses and grow and drive sales and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, that's a really unique perspective, actually. Just having been involved with LBF for so long, you can put yourself in their shoes, being, doing a white label video service for agencies, or, just other clients directly, who like, you understand what it's like to have an ROI and deal with deal with all of the merchandise and manufacturing and all the other expenses. Right. I'm sure.
That's what changed the business, the production business that I'm doing now for me, is like, was that switch. It's like, how do we make creativity work for everybody? Mm-hmm. And that's like, that kind of changed my business model a bit, and it's been working great now.
Yeah. I'll talk about obviously they're very different, like a service-based business versus a product, like where you have physical products. I'm sure they're very different, but like we were recording ads today for the BTS Studios offer. And interestingly enough, I think you have to productize a service offer. So you have to make it appear as though it's something that is, I mean, it's tangible anyway, but like more tangible, like if you have a digital product, like they'll package it up on a landing page. So it makes like you're physically buying something. Yes. So I think the psychology of it, that kind of sort of goes hand in hand, but talk about the differences of those two different business models, having been involved with them, just a service versus a physical product, and like what the biggest differences are between them.
Well, it's not even that. It's also like, one is B2C, one's B2B. So like I'm selling to other businesses, LBF is selling right to consumers. It's a whole different mindset. At LBF, we're trying to create brand, and personality is so much more a part of it. Like, you're trying to create a community and a brand that a ton of people want to be a part of. And Aboon's been very successful at doing that. On the BTS Studios side, you're really trying to build a lot of trust with these business owners, so they can, when they buy your service, they're entrusting you with kind of like a piece of their business, especially with the offer that we do. It's like, if we're going to come onto your agency and boost your agency and 10x your agency by adding a video arm to that, you better trust us, and we better deliver on that trust, because we're becoming an extension of your company, of your agency, of your brand. So I think those are the two those are the two main differences and just there's so many differences in services and product. It's just how they're delivered. But I heard this saying, and it was Scott, the ad guy that I was working with. He said, branding happens regardless. I forget where the quote's from, but it's branding happens regardless. And so it's either like that could be bad branding or good branding. But either way, a brand is building trust, whether it's with products, whether it's with services. So I'm building trust with businesses. LBF is building trust in a brand with consumers who can trust that the product's going to be quality and that the brand's going to promote and live the lifestyle that they stand for. And then they want to be a part of that. They want to attach themselves to that brand, that community. It's our job to actually live that and deliver on like those brand ideals and that mission. So
it all comes back to trust. I mean, with
right.
so many different areas of life.
Right. Well, right.
Yeah. Well, that sort of segues into, obviously like you're an established industry professional. You've been working in video for a while. What is it that you look for in people when you want to hire them? If it's for editing or on a set, like, you're doing pre-production calls, you're working with a lot of people for a shoot next week. And obviously there's some roles are greater than others. They hold different responsibilities, but whether it's trust or being on time or showing, hustle or the dedication, or what would you say are those traits that stand out that you think are essential for people that want to get hired in the film business from your perspective?
Yeah. I think the two biggest things for me are, well, the first one is problem solving. I think that's the most important one because, and maybe it's just my production mind, but it's like, if you are there and maybe you're talented at one specific thing, but you can't problem solve, it's like, then now I'm kind of doing a second job because I have to help you solve those problems.
Right.
And this might be unique to small business, but we work with a small team. We have an internal small team. So being able to solve problems is super valuable for me. And like, I'm there to be a resource. I'm there to help. But if something comes across your plate and you just like don't have problem solving skill, whether you can solve it or not is irrelevant. Like, do you have the skills to realize there's a problem and tackle it in a way where like, when you come to me with something, it's like you've already exhausted all I've seen that you've tried to solve the problem. Right. Now you're coming to me because it's last resort.
Yeah. You're trying to be self-sufficient.
Right.
To the maximum extent possible.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. And I don't think it's, it seems like a simple, like surface level thing that everybody should have when they're applying, but that's like one of the number one things that I look for is, are you self-sufficient? Can you solve problems on your own? And again, no matter what it is, whether it's editing, producing, shooting, it's like, especially in our industry, you're just problem solving every day.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. Drive is the other one. Like, I don't think enough, I think in our industry, you innately have to have passion, but I don't know how many people have drive. What I mean by drive is like somebody who wants to come in, is excited about the work they're doing and wants to ask questions and wants to grow their career. Like, not just somebody who's gonna, like, as an editor, you've constantly come to me and asked me like, oh, how do I do this better? Or I've seen you sometimes like get frustrated with certain edits, and that doesn't bother me at all. It shows me like that you care and you want it to be better, or you want to be better. And to me, that's like, you have a lot of drive. And I think that's valuable, again, especially in a small business, because everybody's got to play a lot of roles, different hats, especially me as the business owner. My goal as a business owner is to grow the business. So my plan is for the business to start here. I'm going this way. I bring you on. My goal is to still go this way. I don't want you to stay here. I want you to have the drive to like keep up with me and grow with me and increase your skill set and do all that kind of stuff. So as we're growing, you can come along and you're as a part of the team. Now, some people, I think drive is they can grow out of the team, which I think is great. It's if you're growing so much, you're getting so big for us, then that means we did a great job in nurturing that talent, and that person had an incredible amount of drive. And I really admire that. I think that's great. But those are the two biggest things for me, is like problem solving and drive.
Mm-hmm. Those are very well said. Because I think, you may think it's all of these other things where people's minds might just go to the technical things. But it's like what you said with the problem solving, like there's going to be a brand new problem that you've never encountered before on every single job, every single day.
Right.
So unless you consciously acknowledge that reality and are prepared and willing to confront those problems and know that it's going to make you better and more robust as like an entrepreneur or an editor, filmmaker, director, DP, whatever you are, even beyond the creative business. It's like that growth learning mindset is just so important to have.
Right. I think we were talking about like, you also have to align, I think, with the mission of like the business you're applying for and working for. Like, I think that's important. We were talking about like school and like learning styles. It's like, if you go into a company that maybe has a different mindset or a different mission or a way that a culture at the company, then you might not thrive in that, but it doesn't mean that maybe you're not good at that role or whatever it is. You just don't, that learning style is different, or like that classroom structure is different, I guess I'll say, based on, our what we were previously talking about. So that's also important. I don't know if that's a trait, but that's just something to like look for when you're hiring somebody, but also if you're coming onto a business. It's like, make sure you align with what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that just came to mind is I think there are people who are more inclined to, they have entrepreneurial tendencies, and then there's people that would prefer to be more employees and be given directions and told what to do and be a part of a team in that way. And I think obviously like the two of us are very similar and we both have that entrepreneurial spirit. And I think, that's not saying it's bad, but it's created some tension at times where you're trying to grow your business and I'm doing my own things and I'm trying to grow my own business. And, sometimes those complement each other because, I'm doing work for you and stuff like that. But I think at a certain point you have to, like, do you think you can be both? Or like you have to decide, like, am I going to do my own thing and have my own vision or be a part of something where I'm helping to advance that vision? Or am I going to, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with either, or I prefer to be in a supportive role, not necessarily in the driver's seat. Like, do you think you can be both, or do you think at a certain point you have to realize what your strengths are and you have to pick one?
I think you have to realize what your strengths are and pick one, but it's not a strength thing. It's just like a decision thing. Like, where do you want to go? If you are a person who wants to be an entrepreneur and do your own thing, you're going to do yourself a disservice by trying to fit into a company structure where you have to be like a part player. I think you have to pick one, but also it really depends on the stage you're at in your business. I work with a ton of like independent contractors that do their own thing. When we're in like a smaller growth stage, you want to partner up with people that are kind of on the same mission, but then you get to a point where, okay, now I need more people that are dedicated to the team and dedicated to growing the direction we're growing. And, right now I feel like we're in like hyper scalability mode where it's like, okay, I'm looking for people who want to be on the team as a really strong like piece player, because now we're past that level of just like startup entrepreneur, like small business. It's like, okay, we're getting to that next level. And I think you need a structure of people to go with you. It can't just, if you want to have like stability and actual scalable growth, you're going to need those pieces to be pretty consistent. And the way to have that is bring people on as employees or full-time people in the main roles. So I think on both sides, you kind of got to pick where you want to go. But I think that changes depending on where you at in just your skill level and like just in your journey or where you're at in your business journey. So
very well said. Well, final question. So, I mean, you've been very influential to my career. I think, like I've told you before, like I just think it's like, it cannot be understated the value of like having someone who is where you want to be, like further down the road, like more experienced, and just, be able to learn from someone like that, I think is so crucial. And I mean, you're not the only one. I have a lot of I'm so blessed to have a lot of people like that in my life. You know, my parents, of course, have been supportive of what I want to do, which is, you know, means the world to me. But also, you know, I have, whether it's people that like I have, when I was in college, I was a freshman, I helped some seniors out with their project. Like they were older and, you know, I learned from them. I know everyone has a different definition of like mentor, but just if we can like use that term, I think, like having mentors or just people that you can model your skills after is just, it's been so transformative for me. So like my final question is, did you have anyone like that that has sort of, you know, played a role like that like you've looked up to? And do you think that that's also important from your perspective to, you know, if you're like a young creative, to try to find people like that to sort of play that role? Because I don't know, like it's made a big impact on me. So like, I don't know if you, from your perspective, like if you have any thoughts on that.
No, I mean, I didn't really have anybody, which I think brings its own unique strengths as well. I think it's great. I think it's important. I try to mentor people that I can, that, I see have potential, that work with me, that I can help, because I'd never really had that, like specifically in this industry. You know, my parents, my grandparents, like I looked up to them. They mentored me in ways. My dad's an entrepreneur. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. So that kind of stuff, but not in like this industry. For me, it was even, you know, working with a boon, like having somebody like at your level that you're both kind of growing this thing. It's like you learn off of each other. Growing the business, like you have somebody at least to bounce stuff off of, and you're kind of, in certain ways they're ahead of you, in other ways you're ahead of them, but you're kind of helping each other bring up, come up. So I think that's important, whether it's a person that's steps ahead of you or even just right beside you that you can work with, that, you know, again, they maybe get a level up, they bring you up, you get a level up, you bring them up. I've had like, I don't know what the word is, but I've had some like situations and people that have been like I guess they've taught me ways to maybe not do things. And I think that's almost the same as a mentor, is like watching like, or just being in situations where maybe you wouldn't have done it exactly that way, but somebody else is doing it ahead of you, and like they're kind of making the mistake, and you're just kind of watching from underneath or from afar.
So they're unintentionally teaching
what
you
not
a lesson.
to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
Exactly. So I've definitely had very distinct moments in my career coming up that it was like helpful for me, unfortunate for the other person. Or people. But yes, so that there's another way. So you can look at the opposite of that. You don't exactly need a mentor giving you all this positive feedback. Although I think that's probably more beneficial and super helpful. I think if you have that and you can find that, I think that's super valuable to have. But there's the other side of the coin too, where you can kind of do your own thing and see what other people are doing. Like, oh, I wouldn't do that, or that was a big mistake this person did. And you're paying attention to that. And as long as you're constantly learning and getting better all the time, then that's going to be its own form of mentorship. So,
yeah. And it's also, you know, I think it has to be fulfilling to play that role in a way for other people, to be able to, you know, give opportunities to people who are like looking to get their foot in the door places.
That is my favorite thing. Like if I see somebody who's like driven and like is hungry and wants to do this, and like maybe I'll be out of touch with them for a little bit, but like they'll randomly text me or something like, hey, do you need anything? Or like I was just doing this, like whatever it is. Like I love helping those people, because there may be situations like normally where, you know, I was there, so I get like where they're at, I get where they're trying to go. And it's not even like, hey, you should do this, you should do that. It's just when they run into something, being able to just like kind of offer guidance in a way that like, and then you see them, they're doing great things, and you're like, oh, okay, like that person deserved that. And I'm glad that I could help them.
Yeah.
Or even like more directly, when I just get projects now that maybe we're a little too big for, it's like, instead of just saying no, it's like I have now people I can help give work to, and that feels really good. And I think I'm going to do that as long as I can. So
it's so easy to just be like, this industry is competitive. I'm going to take all this work and I'm going to be secluded and I'm going to take as much as I can. And I don't want to like give work to other people, but it's just the wrong perspective to have. If you can, it's going to grow your network. And also it feels good to just, to use the like quote unquote wisdom or whatever, or the knowledge and experience that you've accumulated and teach other people or have other people like benefit from your experience. And whether you're being mentored or you're mentoring other people, they're both very fulfilling.
Well, I think it's an obligation we have like in this space, especially creative space, because it's like there's kind of a path already carved out for like the traditional way people go about like school, college, 9-to-5 job, like internship, then you get a job and then you're doing all that kind of stuff. But I think it's a unique person that wants to step out of that and pursue a passion, or specifically a creative passion. And I know how hard that is. So for me, I feel like, again, it's like an obligation for me to help that person, because like you didn't take the traditional path. It's already going to be hard. So anything that I can offer to help you, like even just reinforce that you made the right decision to keep going. Like I very much want to do that, because I didn't always have them. Luckily I had great parents that supported me, but again, they weren't coming like from taking that route. So any chance I get to do it, I feel like I have an obligation to, because I took that hard road and I made it through. So now I see other people doing it. It's like, yo, I want to help you make it through too.
Yeah, it's scary, and there's a stigma against it to be like a full-time creative. So any encouragement and support that you can give people that show that they want to pursue that, it's almost like it's an extension of you. Like it's like I said, like I see myself in people that want to do it. I'm like, how would I feel if I was in their shoes? Like
there's also a selfish thing here where like I want to prove other people wrong, of like the more people I have that I've seen like that make it in this path, it's like showing the other people, it's like, yo, like you don't have to, there's not just one way to go. There's not just one route to take. And like, look, here's all the proof. Like we're all doing this. We're all successful. We're all creating things. We're all making money doing this. So like there's other ways to go here.
Absolutely. So. Let's end it there.
Cool.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I know we're both extremely busy, so I'm glad that we could find a couple of minutes to just sit down.
Yeah, it's good. We got to go review some edits. Let's get back to work.
Yeah, and we'll be hopefully making a lot of clips, and maybe some of these clips will be turned into ads.
They might be.
Yeah. Well, thanks again. I really appreciate it.
Of course, man.